How's everybody doing today? Oh my goodness, look at you, Kylie. You got a new computer and then you moved. You moved to the ocean the minute you got a new Mac. Is that
Yep, absolutely. You better believe it.
how's everybody doing today? Yeah, we're hanging in there. We're good.
Mhm.
Okay. So today is a code of ethics, which is usually a lot of us don't do well on that. Those who've taken the test before, would you agree? Or you're very ethical and tell me what it has looked like.
Hey, the first time I took my test, I did really good on the ethics. But when I did it the second time last year, it was a lot of questions on it, and I did not do that well. I got
Do you
maybe a
do
little
you
bit
recall?
over half right.
Do you
No,
recall like what kind of things you missed? I'm sorry, guys. I got my retainers back in. I just had to snuff down a burger and
no, I don't. I
add
can't.
no
I can't
shame.
recall right off the top. But I'll try to think of something. If I do, then I will. I will let you know.
Hey, I recall one of my questions that I had. I'm not sure if it was read like this. But one of them was saying like it was an interpreter there doing the assessment.
Mm-hmm.
And the interpreter were asking questions in regard to the client's trauma, and the client exposed their trauma, and the interpreter didn't feel comfortable with repeating it to the social worker, so it didn't ask what should the social worker do in that situation.
Find a new interpreter. So,
Yeah, so
so the interpreter's job is only to interpret. So if one of those said in the session or I'm always going to assess, gather more information of why she doesn't think it's important. But the bottom line is the interpreter's job is just to interpret, not to ask any questions. If the client chooses to share, that's up to them. But I'm not going to share anything that the client would want me to share. You know what the other options were?
I don't remember. I know it's like ask the interpreter like why they didn't feel comfortable. It
Okay,
was
and
quite
that's
it was
usually
like choices that basically would have made a session about the interpreter, right? Like if we would
okay.
have asked the interpreter
So,
like
but remember, the first step is always to assess. So I want to know why. I don't want to necessarily make the session about the interpreter, but if she feels uncomfortable assessing, instead of firing her on the spot and get out of my office, I'd like to know why. We get paid to be nosy. So don't you always want to know why when someone tells you something? That should be our natural instinct at this point. Like, oh wow, they did why? Okay. And we don't ask questions like why to clients, but we're always trying to assess. We're trying to gather more information.
I had a question about the about an interpreter as well. It wasn't the ethical one that Jennifer just said.
Mm-hmm.
Mine was asking what type of service is it when you bring an interpreter in? Like what type of it was asking like what type of service would that be considered when you bring
So
an
the
interpreter
term I
in?
usually think is auxiliary, but what were my choices?
I don't remember. I'm sure I got it wrong because I was like, what is this? But it acts. So now that she just said that, that's something I make sure I need to look up before I take
So
it again.
most often what I see is auxiliary services. So those are added services just to help the client, help them perform at the same level somebody else would. Let me show you that term. Am I sharing to see the auxiliary services or services that help people with disabilities use goods and services?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay. So that's my first thought. That's just what that verbiage means. And if you don't know what that verbiage means, you'd have no idea what to look for. But auxiliary services, that's the term. Okay. And that is not necessarily a clinical term. Okay? I cannot tell you how I know that. I can just tell you that I know that. I don't know how I know that. I'm sure I picked it up someplace, and I don't know where to go to tell you where to start if I may. But I'm pretty sure that's what they mean. That's auxiliary services. Okay. Remember when you're working with an interpreter that you are facing the client and the interpreter is beside you. I'm not looking at the interpreter, I'm looking at the client. Okay. Remember that ASL, American Sign Language, is not English. Okay, so I have a couple of there are 2 universities in the United States that are for hearing impaired. And the people who graduate with master's degrees still don't know how to read and understand American English, because in sign language, signs mean words, right? So they didn't learn traditional way to sound out words to read. So I had a client a couple of years ago, and she didn't learn to read English and read and learn to actually read English until she was 35. But she had a master's degree already from Gaudet. Yeah, that's one of the colleges. And it really is. It's for hearing impaired, and the hearing impaired community really believes there's no need to hear. That it is if that's how we're made, there's a whole community that sees no reason. The cochlear implant is very controversial. The cochlear implant is what especially little kids will get many times to help them be able to hear. People in the hearing community and the people in the non-hearing community say you don't need that. So it's very much a very large support system of no need to understand. We communicate our own ways. But again, to say to a client to write it down for them, don't assume that they know American English. Okay, so that's really clear why we have to have an interpreter, and we're looking at the interpreter, not looking at the client, not the interpreter. Okay, you all know that we don't bring in the custodian. It might happen every day in your real world. We don't believe in the custodian. We don't believe in the child's family coming in. We're not going to get, the man down the street. Not okay. If your agency has clients that don't speak English, what you're supposed to do is hire that line. There's the interpretation line. Okay. And what it does is there's many people that speak many different languages. Okay. In an emergency situation, and again, I've had a couple of clients that I've learned the hard way of what it works to learn. I've had clients, my students and clients who've rolled me under the bus several times because I was wrong. In an emergency room, again, they're supposed to bring in an interpreter or bring in the line. That is part of the ADA. That's what you're supposed to do. Okay, so we can't not see them. We can't just say, hey, can you pull up your iPhone, right? No. If you watch my videos, this video and all of my videos are always closed caption. Okay, because I have learned the hard way. It will always be closed caption. Okay. What else? Just things you've seen?
Burnout.
Say again, burnout?
Yeah.
Burnout's not a code of ethics. They could care less if you burn out.
Or like compassion fatigue.
Neither one of them are code of ethics. Okay, honestly, they should be. Okay, but those are so burnout is let's make sure we clarify. Okay, so vicarious.
Okay. No, I was going to say you're right. It's not in the code of ethics, but it's in the last chapter of Value and Ethics. So you're right.
Got it. So I swear to you, if the Social Worker Association really cared about us, there'd be questions on which of these is the counselor relaxation time. Social workers should, right, take 2 days off every week. Social workers should not take notes at home, right? Be really focused on that. So burnout was just over and over again doing the exact same thing. Coming home, sitting in my same chair, leaving work, coming home, doing the exact same thing. And I've just had enough. When you're experiencing burnout, that means that you haven't had enough self-care. Okay. Those are big old red flags for me, right? Like, oh, okay, Pam, that means we need some time off, take a couple days off, go do something fun, do something for you. Okay. So vicarious or secondary trauma is when I'm being re-traumatized. So I'm sorry, that's the correct word. So re-traumatization belongs to trauma-focused care. Don't watch my verb. It's re-traumatization is trauma-focused care. And someone who has been traumatized and they come into your setting, we want to make sure we don't re-traumatize them. Okay, that's where that verb belongs. So vicarious trauma and secondary mean the same thing. It means that I am being traumatized by hearing your stories. That I work with women that have been raped and I have dreams, I wake up in the middle of the night screaming that I've been raped. Or I'm afraid to go to my car at night because I'm sure someone's going to find me and rape me. That is when I am reliving the trauma that my client shared with me. Okay. So together, compassion fatigue, as well as, compassion fatigue is a combination of burnout and secondary or vicarious trauma. Okay. And the answer to both of those means you're not setting good boundaries. So we have to make sure that we don't take notes on the weekends, that we're not following up on the weekends trying to do our job. You know what? And especially when you're new in the field, it feels really, really good that your client calls you 1,000 times, right? Oh my gosh, I think I'm the best thing ever. But this job is like any other job. You're flipping burgers. Okay. So if you're working McDonald's on the weekends, do you worry about if somebody else salted the fries? Oh my gosh, I can't sleep. Maybe those fries went out unsalted. No. Okay. I hate to tell you this, but if you got killed in a car accident tomorrow, your clients would be upset for about 2 or 3 seconds and then say, who's my new therapist? Sorry. Now, for many of us, if our client was killed, we feel like we've invested so much into them, we'd be very upset, wouldn't we? It don't work both ways. And I know it feels good, especially in the beginning. It feels so good. Dr. Pam would have never made it without you. Yes, you would have, because somebody else would have just filled my shoes and been just fine. Okay. So I tell my early clients, don't take that personal. Don't do that. Don't do that. It does feel good and you're here to make a difference. However, you're not that great. Okay. Sorry. I know, burst your bubble. You are a great social worker, but you know, if somebody else comes along, they're just as good as you are. Other questions? I know Dr. Pam, you told me I sucked as a social worker. I don't know if I want to say anything else now.
Well, the favorite of dual relationship and conflict of interest.
What's the difference?
Dual relationship, I can only be one, either your social worker or your friend. And conflict of interest is about money, is it?
Okay. It's most often about money. A conflict of interest means I'm benefiting from the relationship that we had. Okay. One of those questions that's pretty common is a client, there's an ad in the newspaper and there's a dog for sale. And the counselor, right, the therapist, social worker says, oh, hey, I want to buy this dog. And I, agree to meet them at whatever place. And then when I get there, I realize that it's a former client. The client sees me and the client says, oh, hey, Dr. Pam, it's you. Give you this dog for like 50% off because it's you. What do I do? Do I just walk away, not buy the dog? Do I take the discount? Do I have to pay the regular price? What do?
Pay the regular price.
I pay the regular price. A conflict of interest is because he knows me and he's giving me a deal. Okay. So most often there's a personal or monetary gain for me. That's the conflict of interest. The dual relationship is, and especially remember in a small community, it can't always be avoided. If we're in a small community and I'm the only counselor or I'm the only person, real life example. So I've tried to tell my current students, not to work in this area. If they can work someplace else, it'd be great. One of my students was doing an internship and the call came in, it was on speakerphone. And when the call came in from the police, she was working at the sexual assault treatment center. That's where she was working. And when the phone call came in from the police, that's where kids go who've been sexually assaulted. Her own phone was ringing. And she said, she's working, didn't answer her own phone. And when the call comes in, it's about her nephew and niece, that her sister's husband had been charged with molesting her nephew and niece. And she's on speakerphone because you can't unhear it. Okay. So what we talked about is just stepping out of the room And then after the call was over, going back to your supervisor, letting you know that I know these people. I cannot be on this case. Okay. So, so if I knew the name ahead of time, then I just say, no, I can't take these people. But it had to be on a conference call with a speakerphone. And then the other side of that is then now it's a small town and everybody knows she's doing her internship at this place. So all of her family members know that's where she's at. And they call her and they want to ask them, they want the details. You know, your brother wouldn't do that. He'd never hurt them kids. So boundaries and really having that dual relationship. So in this situation, she had a really good supervisor and she was internship. So we're able to really just make sure that she did not have any access to that case. So it was really easy to say to her family members, I don't know, because I just really don't know. So in a small rural area, right, those issues always come back and they come up with, what do I do? I'm the only mechanic in town. Okay. So I have to, if it's the only mechanic and I got to get my car fixed, we have to have a relationship, but it's my responsibility to make sure that I'm doing everything I can to make sure that that relationship stays professional. Okay. So basic ones. Can I take a gift?
Yes.
Always?
No.
I need to ask open-ended questions because I'm getting close-ended answers.
You
So-
cannot take an expensive gift, but if somebody offers you like cookies or the red envelope with money in it, you take it. If you're sitting at the table and they're eating, you eat. And if you don't
Okay.
eat, you put it in a bag.
So the goal is the code of ethics talks about cultural implications, right? So none of y'all, I know y'all don't want to be eating that. We ain't that kind of food. We don't. They be cooking with dogs and cats. We don't eat American food. We eat that food, right? Okay, really. In Peru, I had guinea pig. Tastes like chicken. Okay, so I just booked a cruise for December, and thank God I have an iron stomach because I will try anything, anything. Like I won't like to go to the local places where the local people eat, and like the live chickens are hanging down and there are flies everywhere. That's why I want to eat. I don't want to eat it like Applebee's. Okay, so the goal though is that we really have to get rid of that ethnocentrism. That Americans and American food is the best. We can't do that. We really can't do that. So the goal is to make sure that we really include all of, so if it's just food, that we're open to all the cultures. Okay. So I'm looking at making sure it doesn't hurt the client. The client always comes first. Okay. Let's pull up
Bargaining
some.
code of ethics.
Repeat.
Bargaining's and code of ethics.
Bartering.
Yes.
What does that mean?
That means that if you live in a small community and you're the only one the only social worker, and a family comes in and they want to pay you with chickens, as long as they're paying people such as like doctors, lawyers with chickens, that you could take the chickens.
Okay. Do I have to be the only social worker in that particular town?
No.
Okay. Not in that question. No. Okay. Let me show what that looks like in a question. Okay. You see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead. Take this for me, Kylie.
In most cases, bartering should be avoided as a means of paying for psychotherapy. However, bartering may be permissible in all the following cases except when. So 3 of these are correct, 1 of them is not. And in most cases, you avoid bartering in means of paying for psychotherapy. So both therapist and clients sign a written contract. The client is facing significant financial hardships. The bartering would not exploit the therapeutic relationship. The client requests to barter. So I'm getting rid of A.
Okay, that is true, right? It has to be written. We have to both agree and it has to be written. Absolutely.
And I'm getting rid of B.
We're not going to get rid of it yet.
No, I'm getting rid of C.
Yes, you are. That is something that has to be there. I cannot exploit them. I cannot take a whole side of cow, a whole side of beef for one session. Absolutely.
So between B and D,
Which of them? So one of these is not permissible. Bartering may be permissible in all the following cases. So which one is it okay? And which one is not a rule for bargaining?
it is okay when the client requests to barter.
It is okay. So then what's my answer?
D. No.
So what they have to
Yeah,
request.
C.
That's the rule. They have to request.
So C or B is my answer.
B is your answer. Now tell me why.
Because they don't have to be in significant hardship.
They're not poor. Right? They have lots of other things. They just aren't cash friendly, right? So if I own, 1,000 acres of land and, I've got all of these other things going on, right? I got the acres and I'm selling cattle. I'm rich, right? I just don't have cash to give. So it has to be the nature. It has to be the rule of the area that everybody takes that, right?
Yes.
And then the other rules, that's verbatim code of ethics. The client has to ask. Everybody in the neighborhood needs to take that. And I cannot exploit that. I can't do that. Okay. Ask other questions, guys. That makes sense.
Hey, I'm sorry. I don't understand.
Okay. Keep
Why
talking.
why wouldn't it be allowed if the client is facing, or you saying that it would not be allowed when the client is facing a financial hardship because they wouldn't have anything to barter? Is that what you're saying?
I'm
Like they
saying if
wouldn't have
they're
anything?
if they're poor, then they wouldn't have anything to barter. They're just poor.
Oh, okay.
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 So if a client can't afford to see me, that's a different story. So what do I do then if they can't afford to see me?
This is where I get stuck.
Okay.
Well,
there's
if you can't afford, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
no,
cut you off.
no, you can go ahead.
So if clients, I mean, they're like you can give free sessions. Um like
No, you cannot.
I was told that
I
you
don't
could
care what you
give.
were told. That is not the right answer.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Okay. No. Pro bono means that I will give my services to the community for free. To the community. Okay. So whenever you see those questions, remind yourself you're the same profession as a doctor, lawyer, dentist. Okay. If you lose your insurance and you're 8.5 months pregnant and you're sticking out the here and you ain't got no insurance no more and you go see your doctor wobbling in, what's he going to say?
You ain't got no insurance.
Well, first of all, he's probably going to offer you a sliding scale. He's going to offer you a cash number, right? Cash is always cheaper than insurance. It always is, right?
Mhm.
He's going to say, hey, you can stay with me for another couple $1,000. That's my cash price. If you got it, you're fine. If you don't have it, what happens then?
You can refer out.
Bye-bye. Free clinics down the street. We're not any different. We do not give our services away for free. Don't you recall your mama saying that, girl? Don't be giving it up for free. Okay, she might not admit this, but I'm just gonna have to remind. She didn't mean this, but in general, it's a good way to remember. We do not give our services for free. Pro bono means I'll give my services to the community. Okay, that if there is a bullying incident going on, and the church calls me and says, "Hey, can you come and do a seminar on bullying?" Okay, I'm a former school social worker, so when we ever have a crisis at a school shooting, a school something, I'm on the list to call. So I'll definitely go over and I will provide what I do. I'm very good at what I do. I know the school system, I know the people. I go and I'll provide free counseling all day long because there's a crisis. But in general, you don't get to see me for free. Okay, now let's go back, fashion. So tell me where you heard that and why you think that's okay.
Honestly, I don't remember where I heard it. Maybe it was one of my colleagues or something that told me that. It was a few
And
years ago.
so I will say to you, your agency really may say that to you also. But I promise you, your agency is getting money from someplace. Okay. We do not give our services away for free. And we're not going to take like $5 either. So if you were on, Medicare, Medicaid, state dollars, and your state dollars were paying me $85 an hour and you lose it, I am not taking it down to 5. Did Biden forgive all your loans? Not mine. So I owe $100,000 for this damn PhD. I cannot afford that. But I'm also a professional. You do not give your services away for free. And whenever you see those questions, if you're not sure, remember, doctor, lawyer, whatever. They will come to you. They'll do a group speech for you. They'll go in and they'll do, and they might do a day like Doctors Without Walls when people travel and go to other countries and surprise, provide the services. But no, we don't give service away for free. I'll show you where it says that in the Code of Ethics if you're not sure. And I don't mean to pick on you, but that's really what happens most of the time is we haven't read the Code of Ethics. We're going by what some teacher, what some person, what somebody said to us, and it's just not true. It may be true for your agency, but it's not true for the test. So the 2021 is the newest Code of Ethics. I don't know if I actually have that handy, but I can promise you that there's not enough changes that you'll see on this test. The test, the biggest changes are making sure that you are more culture competent, and it definitely talks about the importance of self-care. Okay. So our ethical principles, those are always going to be on there. Remember, our ethical principles overall, am I sharing? Okay. Our goal always is service. Okay. We'll provide primary goals to help people in need and address social problems. Social justice, we're going to fight injustice. So many of you think, oh, I'll never go into macro program. I'll never go into indirect practice. But if you find over and over again that your same clients are getting screwed by the government, you will. Right? When I was a teen parent director, this was right when, you're so young. We changed from AFDC to TANF, right? AFDC in the beginning, when I first started working, people could stay on government welfare forever and forever. And we went to TANF, Temporary Assistance for Needy Families. The law changed, and it said that by 18, if you hadn't done something, if you were 21, it was 21 because my kids said 21. If by 21 you haven't graduated from college or from high school, right? You had to drop out and get your GED and go to work. That was the rule. So I was running a teen parent program, and you could stay in my school until you're 22. And I had people who were 1 or 2 credits away from graduating. A GED is so much harder than graduating. So I started off with just calling their case manager, "Hey, let this girl stay just a couple semesters. Come on." And finally, we really got together, and we then went to write a bill to help, if you're in this program and you're actively going to school, you should be able to finish high school. The GED is like starting all over, and that was a waste of definitely time and taxpayer dollars. That wasn't ever my plan. I didn't even know how to write legislation, but you find out it's got to be fair for my people. Dignity and worth of a person, that means that we no matter what you did, we think you're a person, and we're going to respect you as a person. That Carl Rogers, right? Unconditional positive regard. Yeah, you killed somebody last week, and yeah, it might be a awful person, but I'm still going to respect you as a person. Okay. Human relationships, we value the importance of having relationships. So I teach through all of the other, I teach all the other mental health tests. We're the only one that talks about the importance of human relationships, that people need people. We talk about people in community and people in their environment, and the importance of those things matching. Integrity means what?
Trustworthy.
Truth,
I'll
yeah.
do the right thing even when nobody's looking, I'll still do the right thing. Okay. Had an intern who, during her internship, and she was working at a women's shelter, and her supervisor would go through the good stuff and take the good stuff before it got to the clients. So now my student's an intern, and she's like, "What do I do? Because if you say something as an intern, who are they going to believe? They're going to believe you, or they're going to believe the person that's been there forever." So really some ethical decision making on her part of what are we going to do? So she decided, we talked about that she would stick it out and report it after she was done. Okay, so that's what that means, that I'm going to do the right thing. And competence means that I will make sure that I know what I'm doing. I'll stay in my area of expertise, my areas of competence. So on test questions, remember, you are never, ever, ever going to refer to somebody, another social worker at the same level. They know less than you do. You're the smartest one in the bunch. They know less than you do. Okay. So if it says I'm a rural area and there's not another, I'm the only one in the area, and the issue comes up with domestic violence or anorexia, or any of those things that maybe I'm not familiar with, I just don't call in the social worker. Unless the question says she's an expert in that area, I call someone who's an expert in the area. It may be the doctor, the nurse, it may be somebody else, a different discipline. But I'm not just asking the other social worker because she knows less than I know. Okay. We refer if it's out of our competence, but we don't refer just because. So a couple questions. So if a client comes in and you have never, ever seen them before, over the phone, they call and they say, "Hey, you know what? I've got anorexia and I really want to come to see you." If I've never seen them before, no rapport, I'm not even going to bother. I'm going to refer them out just based on that. But if I have a relationship with them and something comes up, then I have to keep them and seek supervision. Okay. If I already have the rapport, then I can't, that's abandon the client. Does that make sense?
I'm sorry, I have a question. I also had a question in regards to what you just indicated, but it said that the client then reported like that they started to have a substance abuse issue. So we would refer out, right? Because of substance abuse.
So most often that is such a like no way, no how. Okay. So we don't treat for the test. Okay. However, if it's a client that I'm already seeing and they talk about substance abuse, most often the answer is assess first. So if it's truly a substance abuse issue, then I'm going to say to him, "Okay, I don't provide that service here. I need to refer you to someplace else." I'm going to give him choices and then follow up with him. But most often the questions are really about making sure you know to assess first. Or no matter what it says first, next, or best, we're always going to make sure we can gather as much information as possible. We get paid to be nosy. Okay. Share my screen.
No.
Okay. Someone take the last question, or did I just answer it myself?
I had it.
Okay. Fashion, this is yours.
A client hasn't shown up for several sessions in a row, which is in violation of agency's no-show policy. The client has been made aware of the policy previously and had agreed to cancel when she could not attend. How should the social worker proceed? We had this question last week, Dr. Pan.
Okay. Very good. Make sure. We do this one also.
A doctor is required to obtain written permission. Okay. A doctor is required to obtain written permission to perform an autopsy on a deceased patient. The doctor asks the social worker to obtain the family's consent. The family refuses and is upset about the request. What should the social worker do next? A doctor is required to obtain written permission to perform an autopsy on a deceased patient. So the patient is deceased and the doctor is required to obtain a written permission to move forward with the autopsy on the deceased patient. The doctor asks the social worker to obtain the family's consent. So the social worker, so they need to gain, so the doctor needs to gain family consent from the social worker. The family is refusing and is upset about this request. What should the social worker do next? A, help the family deal with their reactions to the loss. Ask if the family's cultural beliefs prohibit an autopsy. Affirm the family's rights to make the decision. Explore how the social worker can provide help. So we're going to rule out B.
Okay. Do we do this one already as well?
I don't remember this one.
Okay.
You can keep A as well. All right.
I am sorry.
So a doctor is required to obtain a written permission to perform the autopsy on a deceased patient. The doctor asks the social worker to obtain the family's consent. The family is refusing and is upset. What does the social worker do next? Can you take A out as well, please?
Mhm.
So we always want to assess. So affirm the family's right to make the decision or explore how the social worker can provide help. The doctor is required. So this is something that the doctor is asking the social worker to do. The family is refusing, is upset. What should the social worker do next? Affirm. I think that this one go when you say that you always want to assess. I would say C, affirm the family's right to make the decision.
You would. So how come you pick that over assess?
Why did I pick it over assess?
That's not an assess answer. That's right though. Tell me why though.
I picked affirm the family's right because if they are they've already refusing, they're already telling you that they're upset. So for me, it's like if I continue to ask, it's like me poking the bear.
Okay. All I need you to know is if the question is full of feelings, feelings trumps
feelings.
assess.
Okay, feelings.
That's
Okay,
all I need you to do, right? Feelings trump assess.
okay, got it.
Okay. Whose turn? Where are we? Molly? Have you seen this question before? Let me know.
No, I don't believe so.
Okay.
A social worker treats a client who reports a desire to kill a former lover who recently ended their relationship. Upon further questioning, the client says that although this is a desire, it does not.
Sorry, I was gonna put in the question underneath there. Go ahead.
Although this is a desire, it is not a strong one, and the client has no definite plan. The client says, I probably won't do anything. The client contracts with the social worker not to kill the former lover. What should the social worker do next? So the questions relaying that a client is experiencing these intrusive thoughts, having the desire to harm a former lover, does not have a definite plan. So we're gonna go see what the social worker should do next. A, notify local law enforcement of the situation.
So remember, I'm always going to say, even when it says next, I want you to be thinking, what would you do first?
B, contract the client's former lover to report the danger. C, monitor the client's feelings as at future sessions. Or D, consult with colleagues about the case. I wouldn't notify the law enforcement yet. So take out A, please. And the reason why I'm taking it out is because there's no definite plan, and it's just a desire, so those intrusive thoughts. B, it says contract the client's former lover to report the danger. We're not notifying the lover yet. So I would like to take out B, please. Consult with colleagues about the case or monitor the client's feelings at future sessions. Probably won't do anything. The client contracts a social worker not to kill the former lover. I would continue to monitor. So with C,
What words in the question prove it to me? You're right. How do I know that?
So it's like the desire, the keywords that came out to me in the questions were the desire. I probably won't do anything.
And you're the social worker. You
Mhm.
believed him.
Yeah.
Okay. So trust the question. Trust the question. If it says in the question, hey, I probably won't do anything, and you're the social worker, you contract with him, then you believe nothing's going to happen. And you don't need consultation on this. You do this all by yourself.
Mhm.
Okay. Everybody okay with that? So we got there? $61. Jennifer.
Okay, excuse my background. My kids are going crazy. But a social worker asks a client to sign a consent for treatment form. The client signs the form but seems uncomfortable with the decision. What should social worker do first? So we have a social worker who asks the client, one second. So the social worker asked the client to sign for consent, and the client felt uncomfortable with this decision. So the question is asking, what should we do first? A, explain that the language is clear and understandable. B, provide a document that meets the defined legal requirements. C, explain that the client has the right to withdraw consent after it's giving, or D, provide the client with a copy for the consent form. So first,
Say my question. What's happening? My
Okay.
question. Explain it to me.
okay, so we have a client who the client signed the form, the client signs the form but seems uncomfortable. So the client has signed the consent form at per request, but however they felt uncomfortable with doing it, with this decision. So that's the issue that's in the question. And it's asking which, as a social worker, how should we respond first? So explain that the language is clear and understandable. I would take that out. Because I feel like that's an assumption, like that's why they felt uncomfortable with the decision. So we wouldn't just go there first. Provide a document that meets the defined legal requirements. Explain that the client has the right to withdraw consent after it's given, or provide the client with a copy of the consent form. Provide a document that meets the defined legal
Okay. So
requirements.
what else did I rule out? I ruled out A. What else?
Yes, I ruled out A, and I will also rule out B. No, B. I'm sorry.
B. Okay.
B as in boy. Yeah. And going back into my question, explain that the client has the right to withdraw consent after it's given, or D, provide the client with a copy of the consent. So I would go with C, explaining to the client that they have the right to withdraw with consent after it's given first.
That is verbatim code of ethics. A client has the right to say, I changed my mind. I want out at any point, even if they are court mandated, they still have that right. Absolutely. Zachary, I think I'm with you. Does that need to be bigger?
Yes, please, just a little bit. Thank you.
In counseling with a client at a correctional center who is coming up for parole, it becomes clear to the social worker that the client plans to continue assaulting women. The social worker is asked for his professional opinion regarding the client's parole. The social worker should. So this question is asking a social worker that is providing services to someone that is incarcerated, what is their opinion, their professional beliefs on someone that has stated that they are going to commit something illegal once they are released.
Where am I? The question? What kind of social worker am I and where am I?
Social worker works for a nonprofit or something?
Doesn't say that. So I don't know who I work for, but I may work actually for the court system. It doesn't say. But I'm counseling a client at a correctional center and he's coming up for parole. So I'm assuming I have something related to the prison system, the penal system.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay.
So A, state his concern about the client's intention to continue assaulting women. B, ask for more time to evaluate the client. C, not discuss the case because this confidential information. D, get a no assault contract from the client.
Okay, so let's rule out.
Social workers actually. I am going to rule out A. I am also going to rule out B, as in boy. And I think the correct answer is D.
I'm gonna say that's not true. Okay, talk to me of how you got there.
Okay, so I look at not discuss the case because this is confidential information.
Where do you assume that? That's why I ask you, where are you?
Social worker is professional in regard.
Okay, I'm counseling with a client at a corrections center who's coming up for parole. It is very clear to the social worker the client has plans to continue assaulting women. The social worker is asked for his professional opinion regarding the client's parole. He has told me he's going to get out and he's going to keep doing what he's doing. Someone will say, hey, Bob, will you just go ahead and sign this sheet of paper and we'll be good? Probably not. Do I want to let him, do I want to let him out on parole?
I don't think you should.
Okay, then. So there's no assumption of confidentiality here. This is not a private practice. This is not in my session. I am in the corrections facility, right? And the judge says, Pam, what is your professional opinion? Keep that man locked up forever because he's going to keep hurting people. So which answer says that? I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be very honest. There's no reason to ask for any more time. It says in the
Would it be
question.
A, Dr. Pam?
Exactly. I am concerned. He says to me he plans to continue assaulting women. I'm going to share that. There's no assumption of privacy here. Okay. We can do we can do a contract with clients. We really can. That's not always out, but I need to know them. We've got a relationship with them, and the contract is not part of the treatment plan. It is something that is because of a relationship with them, and we both agree. If you're going to cut yourself, then you'll do this. Or someone I've been seeing for a long time, and she says she's got suicidal thoughts, but I know her. In the past, she's called me when she was suicidal. So I have to trust them before I can sign a contract. I don't even know him. Okay. You want to ask any questions about that?
Hey, I do. I know you said erase like a lot of things from other people, right? So one of the tutors that I used to tutor with, she preached it's like basically as a social worker, it's illegal to do contract for safety, contracts in general. Is that I know you
She said what?
it's against the code of ethics to do contracts. Like
Well, you find that for me and prove it to me.
yeah, okay.
Whenever you find it, I will believe it.
Gotcha.
It is not the same thing as a treatment plan. A safety plan is I've known you for a while. I've been seeing a woman for 10 years. And in the past, when she's been suicidal, she has reached out. She says she has suicidal ideations right now, but does not want to be hospitalized. I have a relationship with her. The question tells me in the past, I have a reason to trust her. Then I can do a no suicide contract with her. But all those things have to be in place. So whenever you find the code of ethics for me, did you question that when you were told that?
No, I didn't question it. I kind of just accepted it and kept it moving. So when I just read this question, it's like in my mind, I just automatically took out D because I was tutored like that.
So I really hope, please, if there's something that I say to you and you've read someplace different, question me on it. Please, honestly. Okay. Everybody see how I got here? Are we good with this one? Okay. Go back to my list here. This is one of those verbatim code of ethics questions. Natalie, is this you?
Okay, a social worker in a mental health agency has received a referral to provide services for a client who is court ordered to receive social work treatment for criminal activity that led to his probation. The client does not want to participate in the treatment process and has told the social worker that he does not intend to keep his appointments. What should the social worker do? So in the question is saying that the social worker received a referral to provide services for a client that is court ordered for criminal activity that led to his probation. The client does not want to participate in treatment and inform the social worker that he's not going to attend his appointments. So the question is asking, what should a social worker do? A, she should respect the client's right to self-determination and inform the probation officer that the client does not wish to participate in treatment. B, she should inform the client that since he's court ordered, he has no option but to participate in the treatment. C, she should provide the client with information about what services she can offer and let him know the extent of his rights to refuse services. D, she should encourage the client to try at least one session with her and then decide what he would like to do. So I would rule out D
Okay.
and I would rule out B. So it's between A and C. Okay. You always want to respect the client, right to self-determination, but at the same time, so my answer is C.
Okay. What was wrong with A?
A, it just said the client has right to self-determination, inform the probation officer.
Was that
Eventually,
not right?
it is right, but you also want to let him know, like, what's his right when he refused services.
Okay. A is not right.
So the correct answer is C, right?
No, you're correct. You're absolutely right. But why is A
Oh.
not right?
Why is she informing the probation officer? Isn't she have to inform the judge?
Exactly. And do you see anything where she signed a release?
No.
Okay. I only answer to the judge. I do not answer to a probation officer unless it says there's something going on or they've signed a release. I do not answer to that. Okay.
Okay.
Very good. That's how we make sure you understand. We do not answer to that. I only answer to the judge. Just going through. Laura, are you there tonight?
Yes, Dr. Powell, I'm here.
Do you see my question?
The one a social worker has been seeing, that one?
Mhm,
Yes.
mhm.
Hold on. Just make it a little bit bigger. Okay, a social worker has been seeing a client who is an accomplished artist in private practice for 10 months. The client has made excellent progress and is ready to terminate therapy.
During the final session, the client presents a social worker with a picture of his dog, which she painted from a photograph that he had on his desk. What is the best way for the social worker to handle the situation? The social worker should explain that he cannot accept this gift, even though this is a kind and generous gesture. The social worker should remind the client that he discussed gift giving during the initial interview. The social worker should offer to buy the painting from the client. And D, the social worker should accept the gift. It is a painting of his dog. It would not have meaning to anyone else. Okay, so social worker has been seeing a client. He's an accomplished artist. This is private practice. They've been together for 10 months. The client's made excellent progress. So this is a termination, and during the final session, the social worker, the client presents a social worker with a picture of his dog. It's painted. What's the best way for the social worker to handle the situation? The social worker should explain that he cannot accept it. I'm going to take out the social worker should remind the client that he discussed gift giving. We're not going to say that right now. I don't think we're going to do C. I don't think we're going to offer to buy the painting.
Okay.
You're in session. I don't think that's a good idea.
So now you're between A and B, and you're going to go back to the question.
Let's
A and D,
see.
I'm sorry.
A and
Go
D.
back to the question. Which of those can I prove in the question?
Kind and generous gesture. I think Indiana is done with not. I think because it says that he's an accomplished artist, I'm accomplished artist might be someone that's famous, popular. I don't really know.
Yeah.
I mean, I would incline to D, but I think the answer is A.
Okay, so I'm not in the room. You're taking this test all by yourself. Which one of those would you choose?
I think I'm going to pick A.
Okay, exactly. So,
Oh.
because if I painted you a picture of your dog, it would not be worth a hill of beans. If Picasso painted you a picture of your dog, it would probably be worth a little bit more than what I did.
Yes.
So the fact that he's an accomplished artist is the key there.
Yes, that's what I was
Okay.
thinking.
Everybody see that? No questions? Because that one little word would have changed everything.
Honestly, I would have been, when you said, I'm not there with you, you're in there alone. It was hard. I was leaning towards A, but part of me was like, I don't know. That nagging kind of like when I'm always between two.
Then we're going to go back to the question. And the key in the question was, right?
Yes.
Okay, that, hey, you know what? There's something in there that tells me when they put the word accomplish in there, it's a reading test. Everything they put in there matters. It so matters.
Yeah.
Everybody had one at least? We good? Okay, I'm back to you, fashion.
Okay.
Dr. Pam, I have a quick question before fashion gets started. Is there a recommended time frame that you spend on reading a question and then breaking it down in your own answer?
So the test is written as a power test. The assumption is that you have enough time during that time. A power test also means that you don't have you have to power your way through it, and there you can never score a perfect score. if when people take the test and they're finishing in 2 hours, I'm concerned. I'm very concerned. That means they didn't read the questions. So as you're practicing, if you find that that you're not getting it done in enough time, then you need to ask for accommodations. Okay. Because I want you to read every question, even when you think you know the answer. I want you to go through the same process, because those are the ones that we miss so often, because we see one word that matches and we're so thrilled we recognize the word, we pick it and we don't really understand the question.
Okay, thank you.
What is your test date?
June 6th.
First time taking it?
Yes.
Okay. Are you feeling anxious?
A little.
Okay. I mean, it's a long time away, so I see no reason for you to need accommodations. I think it's about content and learning how to. Okay, so Passion?
A social worker has been treating a client for 2 months in an agency setting and is experiencing intense sexual attraction towards the client. The social worker's best response is to. So, a social worker is seeing a client for 2 months at the agency and has been experiencing some intense sexual attraction towards that client. So the social worker best response is to consult with an agency supervisor about the case, reveal the attraction to the client, no, transfer the client to another agency worker, work towards ending the client's services at the agency. So takeaway B, we're not going to let our client know that we're attracted to them. We're also not going to work towards ending the services because we don't want to just leave our client high and dry. So
Literally, because some sexual attraction. Come on.
I'm leaning towards A, but I'll read it again. A social worker has been treating a client for 2 months in an agency setting and is experiencing intense sexual attraction towards the client. The social worker best response is to consult with the agency supervisor about the case, transfer the client to another agency worker. I will consult with the agency supervisor about the case. I would just be transparent about what it was that I was feeling. That's what I would do. I would pick A.
Okay, very good. That's countertransference. So that is definitely, when my feelings get in the way, I'm going to go seek supervision. Now, what is the other way? What if the client says that they're attracted to you? Do you automatically seek supervision on that one?
I would have a conversation first, and
Absolutely.
reestablish those boundaries.
Absolutely.
And then after that, if nothing changes, then I would seek supervision.
Absolutely. So we want to remind the client first that that's common. That's common, right? I listen to you and I make you feel better. So that's a very common feeling. But I'm not going to run out of the room screaming because he says, "Oh, Dr. Pam, I have feelings for you." Absolutely. Perfect. I think it's people moved. No, I can't remember. Kylie, I think it's yours.
When is self-disclosure acceptable in the social work supervisory relationship?
What's the question asking me?
When can you self-disclose when you're supervising someone else?
I don't know if it says you, it just says in that relationship. So it could be the supervisor or the supervisee. Because it just says in the relationship.
When the self-disclosure involves the need and well-being of your supervisor. When the self-disclosure is needed to get a social worker to comply with instructions. When the self-disclosure is brief and in an extent of the goals of supervision. When the disclosure is necessary in hiring or firing. We'll get rid of B. Beauty and well-being of the supervisor, the needs and well-being. Brief and in the context of rules for supervision.
What's the rule in general about self-disclosure?
We don't do it.
Okay. Minimal, minimal, minimal. Absolutely. Okay.
So I'm gonna get rid of C.
Let's hold on that for a moment. So
Rid of A.
again, get rid of A for sure. Okay. So self-disclosure involves the needs and the well-being of the supervisor. So it's not about the supervisor, right? It's about what's best for my supervisee.
So
Now between C and D.
and you don't self-disclose when you're hiring or firing. So it's gotta be C.
Okay. So in this question, the goal is, I'm remembering that it's minimal. So I'm looking at when might it be close to being okay.
And brief.
Got it. Got it. Got it. So it's never about me, right? So we minimally self-disclose. Most of us self-disclose way too much. Okay. I think I'm with you, Molly.
Yes, I believe so. Would you, I feel like I'm getting a little older. Would you be willing to like make it a little bit bigger?
Right. I got them old people eyes too.
I'm using my bifocals and it's still not big enough. So thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, so a social worker becomes curious about a client's personal life after the client describes some unusual circumstances. The social worker wants to perform an internet search about the client. Prior to performing the search, the social worker should. So in the question, we're looking at a social worker being extreme, like curious about the client and wanting to look up some information online. And if this is okay or not. So the social worker should ensure A, implied consent for the search, B, a secure internet connection, C, informed consent for the search, or D, no conflicts of interest in the search. So I want to get rid of B, a secured internet connection.
Let me back up. Is this okay?
No.
Okay.
This
So
is not okay.
okay, okay. So in general, right? So why are we not friends with our clients on Facebook?
It's a conflict of interest.
It's a violation of HIPAA.
Yes.
It's a violation of the client's privacy. Not about us. We don't have the right to go searching through their Facebook page. In the events of an emergency and we're trying to, get in touch with a relative or something, that's okay. But that, no.
I would get rid of A, implied consent for search.
What does that mean?
You're assuming that
Absolutely. Well, you
it's
didn't
okay.
say no. You didn't ask. Good.
No conflicts of interest in the search or informed. Okay, all right, I'm going to go back to the question real fast. All right,
Good,
social
good.
worker becomes curious about a client's personal life after the client describes some unusual circumstances. The social worker wants to perform an internet search about the client. Prior to performing the search, the social worker should ensure informed consent for the search or no conflicts of interest in the search. I would get rid of D, and I would choose C because you need to have their permission.
You would. Absolutely. Absolutely. Sorry about that. So remember, it's not about you. All those questions are always about what's best for the client. We're like, oh my gosh, I've got to have some pseudonym, some, because they're gonna find out who I am, and it's not about you. Won't go away. That's not the right answer. If it helps, I'll go ahead and take that one out. Okay. Kelly, I think I'm with you, Nadine, am I? Or Jennifer, who's next?
I can go.
Okay.
Susan
Hey,
and
I took
BS.
A out for you. It's highlighted, but it's not the right answer, so I'm taking it out for you, okay?
Okay. Make it easy for me. Okay, Susan, a BSW student, is an intern and is supervised by John. What are appropriate discussion topics Susan and John should discuss in a supervision meeting? So the question is indicated that we have a BSW student, BWS, yeah, BSW student, who is an intern and is being supervised. The question is asking what are appropriate discussions that the supervisee and the supervisor should discuss in supervision meeting. So A, personal relationship issues, coworker conflicts and time management skills. B, services provided, ethical dilemmas, and professional progression. C, boundary setting, coordinating client needs, and participation in social events. Or D, methods of self-care, weekend plans, and potential issues that conflict with work hours. What are appropriate discussion topics Susan and John should discuss in supervision? So we took out A, service provider, ethical dilemmas, and professional methods of self-care, weekend plans, and potential issues with conflict with work hours or boundary settings, coordinated time needs. So I also would take out D as in dog, leaving me with B and C. Services provided, ethical dilemmas and professional progression, or boundary settings, coordinating client needs, and participating in social events. Or service provider, ethical dilemmas and professional progression. And I'm gonna go with B as in boy.
Yes. That's it. That's it. Okay. We're not supposed to be buddies, pals with our supervisor. Not supposed to work that way. Okay. Okay. You see that one?
Can I take this one?
Sure.
Since this is one that we discussed last week. A hospital social worker meets with parents who refuse to provide appropriate medical care to the 6-year-old daughter with life-threatening illness because of their religious beliefs. The child is receiving some care within the guidelines of their church's ministry, but the child's condition is getting worse. How should the social worker respond to the dilemma? So we have a 6-year-old who has a life-threatening illness, is in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
The parents are refusing to provide appropriate medical care due to the religion, the religious belief. Pursuing some care within the guidelines. But even with what little care they're getting, that they're letting the child have, the child is getting worse.
Mm-hmm.
So how should we respond to this dilemma? Discuss the issue with the hospital staff. Not report the situation because the family's right of self-determination restricts the social worker's actions, report the situation to Child Protective Services, continue to strongly encourage the family to take a different action in the best interest of the child. So I'm getting rid of B as in boy,
Okay.
and I am getting rid of D as in dog,
Okay. But go back to my question. What's happening in my question?
the child has a life-threatening illness,
Okay.
and the parents have let the child have a little bit of care, but the child's condition is getting worse.
So they're following the church.
So we're in the hospital. So we
Okay, so we're down to 2. Do I report to Child Protective Services, or do I discuss it with the hospital staff? What do I do first? Okay, so I'm a hospital social worker. I meet with the parents who refuse appropriate medical care to their 6-year-old daughter with life-threatening illness, a life-threatening illness.
So we reported to Child Protective Services?
Will you tell me?
No, we discussed the issue with hospital staff
Tell me why.
because
What words in the question?
they refuse to provide appropriate medical care.
Okay.
The child's condition is getting worse.
Okay.
A hospital social worker?
So if I'm a hospital social worker, they put that in there for a reason. What would I do first?
You discuss it with the hospital staff.
I would.
And then you would call Child Protective Services?
I don't know that I would or not. So most of these are going to be medical issues that end up in court. So when we're a team, this is a medical issue. This is not my cup of expertise. So I either the hospital staff will call, they'll tell me to call, we'll make a decision as a medical staff.
Would this be one to go to in like front of an ethics board?
It would go before a judge most often.
Okay.
But it's going to be not me. It's going to be usually the legal staff of the hospital.
Okay.
If it said I was in private practice, then I will do what I need to do. But when I work with the hospital staff and it says I work with the hospital staff, I'm a hospital social worker, that makes it then this is a medical concern. So maybe the doctors have a different idea, maybe there's a different plan, but it's going to be an interdisciplinary team decision.
Okay.
Does everybody see that? Those are tough ones sometimes.
Dr. Pam, will you give us another one like this before we leave tonight, please?
If I can find one, I can't promise you. Okay.
Because I mean that makes sense what you just said about discussing with the hospital staff, because I'm like, report the situation to CPS, but I guess I was going back and forth because of their religious beliefs.
Okay. But
So
the bottom
I
line
thought-
is because I work at the hospital. That's why it's not my sole decision alone. It's
And
a
these are
hospital
on the
staff.
test. I've seen them and I've missed them.
Okay.
So if you were a school social worker, then what would you do in this?
A school social worker, I don't need to discuss with anybody. It's not a medical, this is a medical issue. This is a doctor and a nurse and things that are out of my realm of expertise. If you're a school social worker, I make that own decision by myself. I don't need a teacher to tell me to call. Okay, but this is a medical decision. So it's a reading test. That's what happens when we get caught up in it. It's a reading test. I've got to make sure that I am understanding in this particular situation, the sky is blue, the grass is green, blah, 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 that I understand the rules in this particular question. Okay. Whose turn? Oh, come on. Is this, I think it's Zachary.
The National Association of Social Workers, NASW, has established a clear position with regard to undocumented illegal immigrants. The position includes all of the following except. So the question is asking us, or it's telling, the STEM is telling us that the National Association of Social Workers
Is asking about our stance on illegal or undocumented people. Not you personally, but what does the NASW say and how do we act accordingly?
correct. So A, advocating for rights and services for undocumented residents. B, transitioning undocumented immigrants back to their homeland. C, opposing any mandatory immigration reporting by social workers. D, facilitating documentation and benefits for undocumented residents.
And go back and read my question. It says we've established clear position with regards to illegal immigrants. This includes all but what? So 3 of these are things that we believe in. 1 is one that we don't. So what are the 3 that we believe in?
I'm going to take out A.
Okay. We do that, yes.
I'm going to take out
What else do we believe?
D.
Dog?
Yes, D is in dog.
Yes, we sure do. Now you're between B and C, which is where you're supposed to be. So one of these things is something that we don't agree with, and one is one that we do agree with.
Opposing any mandatory reporting by social workers, C.
That's what I'm keeping, and that's what my answer is.
That's what you're keeping. So the answer would be B.
That is correct. B is my answer. That is not what the Code of Ethics says. We don't support that. Everybody okay with that? You don't have to agree. That's not what the law says, or what the code of ethics says. Don't be building a wall on code of ethics time. That was funny. Okay. I swear I can't get a joke tonight. Dang. Everybody okay with that? Yes, Dr. Pam, I knew already. You just wasted my time. Well, thanks. Let me know. Okay.
Yeah, we're okay with it, Dr. Pam.
Okay. We're going to get into some AIDS. Whose turn?
Me, I think that was after Zachary.
Okay, go ahead.
Hold on. Okay. A social worker is seeing a married couple at times individually. During an individual.
I'm trying to get on like one page and make it. I'm sorry, I'm just trying, as I copy and paste, it just doesn't always want to work for me. I want to remove that. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. A social worker is seeing a married couple at times individually. During an individual session, the husband reveals that he is bisexual. He also reveals a lengthy history of sexual lesions with other men and discloses that he recently learned he is HIV positive via a confirmatory test through his primary care physician. Inquiring, the social worker discovers that he has not disclosed his HIV status to his spouse and that he does not use any barriers protection when with her. Upon explaining the life and death risk to his wife, he still maintains that he won't change this behavior. His first minimizes the risk and then claims she would suspect something if he started using protection. After lengthy counseling, he remains unwilling to either reveal his HIV status or to use protection. According to the recent interpretation of the Tarascov case, the social worker's duty now is to. So in the question is saying that the social worker is seen a married couple and sometimes individually. The husband shared that the husband reveals he's bisexual and also have a history of sexual lesion with other men.
Liaisons.
With other men and also shared that he's HIV positive. He did not disclose this information to his wife and does not use any protection with her. He also shares that if he, wait, hold on. If it is that he used condom, the wife would suspect something. He's unwilling to reveal his HIV status or to use protection. So the question is asking, according to the recent interpretation of the Tarascov case, the social worker duty is to now A, contact the client's wife to inform her of the danger, B, contact the client's physician to inform him or her of the problem, C, report the case to the Department of Public Health. I can't see the last question. And D, continue as
Now playing White
Sorry.
Privilege 2, featuring Jamila Woods.
Oh my goodness, sorry. And D, continue this as a priority counseling topic. So it's a Tarascov, okay.
Hmm?
To use the So I would rule out B, contact the client physician to inform him or her of the problem. I would also rule out C, report the case to Department of Public Health. And in a situation like this, he revealed this during the individual session, not the couples therapy. So it is not the social worker duty to warn because the client the client said he's HIV.
Mm-hmm.
So my answer be D, continue this as a parity counseling topic.
Absolutely. I cannot share. I cannot share. Like to, but I cannot. I can encourage him. I can do all of those things, but I cannot share.
Okay, which is hard, but okay.
It is.
In the real world, it's hard.
So I did when I very first started in the field, AIDS and HIV had just started. And I worked at a health center, a health clinic, and a medical health clinic. And we had worked with prostitutes many times. And they would come in and they would test for HIV, and we would tell them, be careful, do all this stuff. And at the time we didn't know how it was spread. And they would come in the next day with syphilis. And there's nothing I can do about it.
I have a question about when it says the recent.
There's not been recent changes.
You said there has been or there has not been?
There's not been.
Okay. I was just.
Wish there had been. So what happened is there's not been a case that's gone before the Supreme Court yet. So the Code of Ethics says that we are not sure if it is actual danger or not. That's the problem. They're locked in the cage. They're in the cage. You ask him how much? You ask him how much? I'll just text him later, but it'd be nice to know. All right, it's in there. It's over 1,000 rules. What I cannot do. Here. Can't cuss out your clients, by the way, guys. Sorry. You can't provide clients services to anybody that you've seen naked. Keep looking and come back to you. This is where it's at. It talks about what I can share and what I can't share. So this is where everybody gets confused with the law, with the code and what it talks about in the law. Social workers should protect the confidentiality of clients during legal proceeding to the extent permitted by the law. when a court of law or legally authorized body that is not an attorney orders social workers to disclose confidential or privileged information without a client's consent, and such disclosure should cause harm to the client, social workers should request that the court withdraw the order. Your Honor, I don't want to testify. Just please pull the order back, or limit the order as narrow as possible, and maintain the records under seal. Okay, so I'm going to say, Your Honor, it's privileged information. I don't want to do this. Please just withdraw the records. Okay, but this is only from a court or a body of the court. An attorney is not a body of the court. And I will keep looking because it's right in that area. I'll show it to you. Let me go back to my questions though. Okay, did I do that one? No, that's one we're on right there. Whose turn? Do we have a turn? It's time to go back.
Yeah, I think it's time. And we're at the beginning now.
Okay, thank you. Passion.
A social worker employed. Can you make it a little bit bigger, please?
I can. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Is that big enough?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm on the
Okay.
second page. I need bigger. There you go.
Thank you. A social worker employed in a youth recreation program is concerned as a child who developed a severe rash on her arm has not returned to the program after the agency director stated that she needed medical clearance. When contacting the mother, the social worker learns that she has not brought her young child to a doctor for years and does not plan to do so. The best response for the social worker is to. So a social worker is employed with a youth recreation program. She's concerned about a child who had a severe rash on an arm and has not come back since the agency director told her that she needed a medical clearance. Once we reached out to mom, it was discovered that the child has not been to the doctor in years, and mom does not plan on taking the child. The best response for the social worker is to determine what occurred to cause the mother's resistance, ask the mother about the child's developmental history, speak to the agency director about reconsidering the child's participation, report the incident to the authorities. So we are going to cross out C, speak to the agency director about reconsidering it. Also cross out B as well. So take out B and C. A social worker employed in a youth recreation program is concerned as a child who developed a rash, severe rash, has not returned after the agency director stated that she needed medical clearance. When contacting the mother, the social worker learns that she has not brought her young child to the doctor for years and does not plan to do so. Okay, what would I do first? Determine what occurred to cause the mother's resistance. Report the incident to the authorities. I think I should ask her why.
I would ask her, but I don't know that the whole sentence is true.
Determine what occurred to cause the mother's resistance.
So do you see anything in the question about resistance?
No, it doesn't. It just says that she just does not plan to do so.
So I want to assess, right? I want to ask questions, but that's not the right question that I want to ask.
Yeah, you want to ask like, why won't you take them to the doctor? Or no, why haven't they been to the doctor in years?
Absolutely. But that's not an option. So now I've got A and D. So what's my better choice?
D.
Okay. So they know that you're supposed to assess, right? That is the rule of social work. We assess, assess, assess. We get paid to be nosy. So the test makers know that you know that, but the whole sentence has to be true. There's no resistance in here. She just hadn't taken them. So of the 4, that's my best choice.
Thank you for pointing it.
Yeah, that's a difficult one because that happens all the time. I assessed, Dr. Pam, I assessed, but you didn't assess the right thing. Okay. We got a couple in here, guys. Okay. Kyla, you?
A social worker who does not provide adolescent services makes referrals to a very reputable agency in our community. When she is contacted for such services, in exchange for each of these referrals, the agency provides a $50 gift card to the social worker. The practice is so this social worker doesn't provide adolescent services, and every time the social worker refers a patient to a certain agency in the community, they reimburse her with a $50 gift card. So this practice
They
is,
reimburse her?
or they provide her.
Oh yeah, she ain't spending no money. They just giving her a little gift. They ain't reimbursing her for nothing.
They provide her with a $50 gift card.
Mm-hmm.
So A, known as free splitting and is ethical, known as collateral contact and is unethical, known as collateral contact and is ethical, known as fee splitting and unethical. So taking out A and D.
Okay.
And you can't so you can't receive a gift from an agency, so it's unethical. Collateral contact, unethical.
Nope, not collateral contact.
It's fee splitting?
It is fee splitting and it's unethical. Absolutely. That's called fee splitting.
Now explain that.
That's just verbatim code of ethics. So if every time I give you, you're going to make money, you give me a part of it, that's called fee splitting. That is just the definition of the code of ethics. You make money and you give me a part of what you make.
How is collateral contact defined?
That's what I am
So
trying to figure out.
collaterals are usually the people that when you work for DFACS and you're trying to go out and gather the information to prove or disprove your case, those are collaterals. Does nothing to do with this question.
So when I looked at it, I looked at fee splitting as somebody actually receiving the services. Just because you made the referral doesn't mean that the person actually got the service and the agency got paid. So that's why I thought it was collateral contact, but okay.
So collateral, the only time I've ever seen collateral contacts are when you're contacting people to prove or disprove a case, right? You got a DFACS kid come in and you're calling the school and you're calling other people to check the collaterals. Okay. Whether they actually make money or not. So that is the reason when a client asks you, you have to give them 3 different referral services. You also want to avoid the look of fee splitting. You want to avoid the look that you're getting something back from this agency. In my earlier videos, when my kids were younger, I loved my pediatrician and I kept referring my clients to my pediatrician. I was young and dumb. It didn't occur to me I could ask for money, right? I just thought he was a really good pediatrician, but it looked like I was doing something unethical. So then I needed to learn to give them to other people besides my pediatrician. And I didn't get anything from it. I really didn't. I was just naive. And he was the best pediatrician I'd ever had. I had 3 kids. We have to avoid the look of that as well. Write the rules, I swear. If you see my name in the code of ethics, let me know.
A 6-year-old and a 4-year-old siblings were placed in foster care after reporting of neglect were made by a neighbor. Despite ongoing casework and an extension of services, the single mother of young kids has made no progress in changing her behavior. It has been determined by the Child Service Agency that the process to terminate parental rights should begin to take place. The next step to foster care worker should take is to so we're a foster care worker working with some children, and the parental rights are in the process of being terminated. So what do we need to do? Says A, increase meetings with the mother to encourage change in behavior. B, appoint a legal guardian to the children. C, meet the children in order to prepare them for the change that will occur as parental rights are terminated. Or D, advocate for the mother by encouraging child protected. Is there anything else underneath? Oh, services to give her another extension for case services.
Okay, go back to my question.
Would you be willing to scroll it back up, please?
I would.
Thank you. So we have 2 kids in foster care experiencing neglect despite the ongoing case and extensions. So they've already experienced an extension of services. A single mother is not having any progress with her behaviors. It has been determined by the CPS that the process to determine termination parental rights should begin to take place. So what do we need to do? So I believe one of them said advocate for another encouraging to I want to get rid of D because she's already had an extension.
Okay.
I want to get rid of A because to encourage change behavior because again extension and she's not displaying any change.
We tried that already, Mama. She
Yeah.
didn't work, did it?
No. Appoint a legal guardian for children, meet the children in order to prepare them for the changes will occur as parental rights are terminated. I would talk to the kids.
I would. We've already been done. She's had numerous times. We've extended periods and she did not do what she's supposed to do. We do not want kids lingering in foster care forever and forever. Absolutely. We really don't want kids in foster care any more than 18 months. And the younger they are, even the less time. We do not want them passed from home to home to home. We want mom to terminate parental rights and so we can put them in a forever home. Okay. Jennifer, you still there?
Yes. A social worker is contacted by the local police department requesting the records of clients who recently committed suicide. What is the best response for the social worker? So the question, if I'm stating the question, it says that the social worker is being contacted by the local police department. And they're requesting for records of the clients who recently committed suicide. So A, consult with their supervisor. What is the best response for the social worker? A, consult with their supervisor. B, turn over a copy of the client's record to the police department. C, not share the records under any circumstances. Or D, contact the client legal representative to determine how to proceed with the request.
Stand my question.
So if I'm stating the question, I would consult with the supervisor, turn over a copy of the client's record to the police department. I would get rid of B first,
Okay.
turn over the copies, and not share the record under any circumstances. Contact the client's legal representative to determine how to proceed with the request. It says, okay, so it says the records of clients who recently committed suicide. I would get rid of, I'm also gonna get rid of C.
So whenever it says never, ever, under any circumstances, those are
Mhm.
always absolutes, right? Those are very few things, times where those going to be true. Oops.
And then, so I'm left with 2, which is consult with their supervisor and contact the client's legal representative to determine how to proceed with the request. Although the client committed suicide, we always want to take the client's best interest, right? So I will consult with their supervisor.
No, you are not. You do not need supervision for that.
Okay, so D.
Okay. Three
Yes.
things for them to educate you, transference, and when it's how to run an agency. You do
Okay.
not need supervision. That is almost always your very last choice. You do not need supervision.
Dr. Pam,
Mm-hmm.
why would you consult with their oh, never mind. See, it's a reading stance. I read it wrong. I thought it was saying the police's supervisor. So never mind, just kidding.
Okay. So it's a suicide. The family might want me to release the records, right? They might want to know what happened. So I'm waiting for a court order. I'm waiting for something legal, something before I can share, but I do not need supervision to make that decision. Okay. I think that's the hardest thing that people do, because you live in a world every day that your supervisor says, check with me. And that is not how it works on the test world. Very, very rarely is that the right choice. So that's really why you just got to stay out of your job world. Okay, there we go. Okay. Who hasn't had a turn recently? Zachary, have you had a turn? So your turn again?
Okay. A 20-year-old woman recently started therapy with a social worker due to post-traumatic stress symptoms after being sexually assaulted on her college campus. The mother of the client has contacted the social worker asking for information regarding the client's sessions, saying that she wants to stay in the loop. The social worker's first response to this request would be to. So what this question is demonstrating is someone has been assaulted on a college campus sexually. She's 20 years old. And the mother wants to understand what's going on. And we know that we need to, the question answers need to respond to what's in the parentheses.
Mhm.
All right. So A, provide the mother with minimal details of the client's treatment. B, encourage the mother to speak with her daughter directly. Can you make it a little bit
Mhm.
smaller?
Mm. Is that too small?
Oh, no, that's good. C, set up a family session where the mother is able to directly address her concerns with her daughter. D, decline to provide information by addressing the confidential nature of this relationship with the mother. I think you rule out A, B, and C because you can't break that confidentiality at all. And I think the right answer is D.
Could there be any other choices?
No, because you're not going to do A, you're not going to provide the mother with any details. B, you can't encourage the mother because,
Yes, I can.
but I thought that you're not even supposed to acknowledge.
Did I?
Well, you have to.
No, I didn't. All I said was, well, if you think there's some concerns, discuss it with your daughter. I didn't bring up any names. I didn't say anything.
Wait, let me read it again. The 20-year-old woman makes you start therapy. So you aren't breaking privilege by encouraging the mother to speak with the daughter directly?
Did I acknowledge that I even know the daughter?
No, you did not.
I didn't say anything. I didn't share anything. B is just a nicer way of saying, well, if you have some concerns, talk with your daughter. I didn't acknowledge, well, I'm your therapist. I didn't do anything.
Interesting. Okay.
I don't make up the rules. I swear. Repeat test takers. Have you seen this as a test question?
Absolutely.
Okay. So the better answer, I didn't, I can also take information. I can take information. I just can't share information. I didn't acknowledge anything. I know, I swear, I don't. In this question, I should have got down to the 2. And what you did is you were so sure that you knew the answer, you didn't even read the rest of them. But B does not violate any code at all.
Understood.
I don't make them up. I don't write them. Let me give you another one like that. Sorry, I own about 1,000 questions. I'm trying to find. I'm looking for questions that still allow you, that you're still staying within the code of ethics, but finding the best answer based on the what the question's giving you, because every question is different. Let me put this one up here while I'm still looking. Some people struggle with that one. You see that one? Someone who's never seen that question?
I'll take it.
You've seen it. Anybody else hadn't seen it?
I haven't seen it.
Go ahead.
A second grade student has repeated absences and unclean appearance and occasional bruises. The student has historically maintained average grades and does not present behavior difficulties in the classroom setting. What should a social worker do first in this situation? So, it's a second grade student has repeated absences, unclean appearance, and occasional bruises. She also has a history that historically maintained average grades and does not present behavior difficulties in the classroom. So the question is asking, what should a social worker do first in this situation? A, interview the student to obtain further information. B, contact a child protection agency to report suspected abuse. C, develop a plan of action to address possible problems. D, conduct a behavioral observation of the student outside of the, okay, I can't see the rest. So I would rule out
Classroom, sorry.
the classroom. So I would rule out D, conduct a behavioral observation of the student outside the classroom. And I would also rule out C, develop a plan of action to address possible problems. So the question is asking, what should a social worker do first? Interview the student to obtain full information or contact child protection agency to report suspected abuse? So, she has repeated absences, unclean appearance, and occasional bruises. She maintained good grades and does not present any behavior in classroom. What does social worker should do first? Would the answer be A, interview the student to obtain further information?
Absolutely. We do not call in neglect first. We ask about it first.
Okay.
Absolutely. I'm still looking, guys, and I really got to wrap you up. Okay. I like this question also.
Yeah, this question was good.
Lines out. Smaller. There we go. Anybody see that one?
I'll take it. A young boy is raised in a home that presents a stereotyped schema about another social group. When the young man moves away to college, he suddenly finds himself surrounded by people from this group. Through experience and real interactions with members of this group, he realizes that his existing knowledge is completely wrong. This process is an example of. So we got a man that is now going to college, and when he was younger, he lived in a home that they stereotyped a certain group of people.
Mm-hmm.
he has now made, while he's in college, he's now interacted with this group of people and realized that what he learned at home was completely wrong. So this is an example of assimilation, accommodation, racism, or stereotypes. I'm going to take out racism, and I'm going to take out assimilation. When you assimilate, you add. No, when you accommodate, you add. When you assimilate, you're the same. And you're just putting your people, or you're above. The knowledge is completely wrong.
They're down to 2.
And we go back. Experience real interactions with members of the group. So it's stereotypes.
It is not. Go back to the question. There's a word in the question that tells you what the answer is and what theory they're talking about.
Schema, which is accommodation.
Dang, dang, dang. Who's the therapist on that?
Don't tell me. Not Freud.
Is it the one with the Piag?
Piaget used the word schema.
So-
Schema is how your brain developed. And
And so
most
it's a
of the time, we're talking about it in childhood. But I think I said to you, maybe not to you guys, but I said to you a couple months ago, I learned there's a difference between sweet potatoes and yams.
Yes.
I had to accommodate room in my schema for new information. So what he thought to be true his whole life is now not true. And it wasn't a culture question. It really was, it was about Piaget. So that's all I have to know my therapist. What?
I really wanted to rule out racism and stereotypes. And then I was like, nope, it can't be.
Well, but there was nothing in the question about racism, was there?
No.
So then you can't make up stuff, can you? Last time I checked, it's not how it works.
No.
Okay, just making sure. Right? They have to be in there, or that can't be the answer. Okay, and of course I cannot find a question that I'm looking for. I will definitely opt to find one and come back in here. But there's a couple of questions that you'll see that really talk about when I don't want to include the parents, but I also want them to realize I want there's other questions, other ways of saying just it's none of your business. Ask me more questions. Of course, I cannot find a question that I want. Like this question. This is one of those ones that are people often get wrong as well. Well, let's go to this one right here. Put that one in there before we talked about this earlier. See that one?
I'll do it. A social worker reads about furniture that is for sale in the newspaper. The social worker responds to the ad and discovers that a former client owns the furniture. The former client tells the social worker that she can have the furniture for 75% off, stating that she appreciates the social worker's previous help. The social worker's best response is what? So, as a social worker, we're looking for some furniture. We found some in the newspaper. However, that furniture is owned by a former client. And that former client is wanting to give it with a discount. So A, purchase the furniture at the reduced price. B, ask a third party to follow through with the purchase. C, allow the client to decide how much she wants to sell it for. Or D, purchase the furniture at the original advertised price. Well, we're not going to do A, with taking it at that reduced price. So taking out A.
At least not for the test.
Correct. And taking out C, allowing the client to decide how she wants to, because again, with that reduced price. So in between B and D, again, this is regarding ethics. So I would go to D, with the original price as advertised.
Absolutely, absolutely. I can't not buy it because the person was planning on selling the furniture, right? So I can't just say no. So, but I'm not going to use that. That's a conflict of interest. When there's money involved. That's what that is. Does somebody see that one? Is somebody still there?
Yes.
Okay, last one, I swear. Go ahead, somebody.
A Child Protective Service Agency social worker is working with a family who is referred because of child neglect. The parents have substance abuse and gambling problems. They frequently leave their children alone at night and fail to obtain routine medical care for them. The parents also keep the 10-year-old child home from school to watch the younger children. After completing a psychosocial assessment, what should the social worker do next? So we have a family who has been referred to us for child neglect. The parents have gambling issues and substance abuse issues. They haven't taken their kids to the doctor in a while, and they are keeping their 10-year-old home from school to watch the younger children. So what should we do next? Ensure that the parents receive substance abuse treatment, assess the availability and cost of services, refer the children for daycare services, help the family identify service needs. So
Let's rule out. Stand my question first. Make sure you understand the question.
we have a family that has been referred to us for child neglect. Mom and dad have substance abuse and gambling issues. They frequently leave their children home at night, and they don't obtain or they don't get medical care for the children, and they keep their 10-year-old child home to watch the younger children. So what should we do next? We need, I'm gonna get rid of assess the availability and cost of services.
Okay.
Refer the children for daycare services, help the family identify service needs, or ensure that parents receive substance abuse treatment. So I'm also going to get rid of refer the children for daycare services.
Okay. Now you're between A and D.
Help the family identify service needs or ensure that the parents receive substance abuse treatment. Completing a psychosocial assessment. We go back to the question. They frequently leave their children at home.
Where do you work?
I work as a child protective services.
Okay. So they're already in custody, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So we ensure that the parents receive substance abuse treatment. A.
Okay. So that's the only problem they have?
No. We help identify family service needs.
Well, tell me how you got to A first.
Word match.
Okay. But then you left out the other things. Is alcohol abuse worse than gambling?
It's the same.
Absolutely. So A can't be my answer. So with all of those parents, substance abuse, they leave the kids alone. So I need to assess first. Oh my gosh, where do I even start with all this stuff? Okay. That's a typical question that people miss because we don't treat substance abusers. We got to get that fixed first. Okay, guys, I got to wrap you up. As I go through the week, I'm sure I'll come over with some questions. I'll put these in your chat box. Just to kind of really understand the code of ethics and know what they look like in a question. A lot of people really, really struggle with those. And it's a reading test. If there's one that talks about if you get a subpoena from a judge and you work for a family agency, you better not go to court. You better go up the chain of command. You go to court without running it by your boss first, you're going to be in a heck of a lot of trouble. So there are the rules, but I still also read at the question. It's a reading test. They're telling me what I need to do. Give me all the clues I need in the test question.
So, Dr. Pam, I have a question. I don't know what the answer is, but it was a question that I saw. It reads, a child protective worker recently receives a referral from a hospital staff for a case of suspected abuse. A Latinx mother brought her 1-year-old son to be treated in the emergency room for burns on his arms, legs, and buttocks. The mother's explanation of the injuries does not match the severity of the burns. The medical report also states that the child has other bruises were found in various stages of healing. The child has been admitted to the hospital. What should a social worker do first? A, request a petition for removal and find family members to care for him. B, conduct an investigation on the suspicious of abuse. C, refer the mother to parenting classes. D, assess if the father can become the primary caregiver while the mother is under investigation.
Have I asked mom what happened yet? Did I miss that in the question?
It said in the question that, hold on, the mother explanation of the injuries does not match the severity of the burns.
So shouldn't I ask mom some questions before I do anything?
Yeah. So which one would it be B? Conduct an investigation is suspicious of abuse?
Say again.
So, okay, so the choices was request a petition for removal and find family members to care for him. Conduct an investigation on the suspicious of abuse. C, refer the mother to parenting classes. And D, assess it if the father can become the primary caregiver while the mother is under investigation.
I think I would do B first, wouldn't I?
But the reason why I didn't choose B, but most people said B, is because as social workers, we don't do investigation.
Okay. So read that question again.
A child protective worker recently received.
I'm sorry, who am I?
Child protective worker.
And what is my job?
To investigate.
Okay, maybe I missed something in the question because I think it's a reading test, and you just told me that I was a CPS worker.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you. No, the question had me confused because I know that we don't, as social workers, we don't investigate. But like you said,
but it said a CPS worker. That's there. They
Okay.
told you the question.
Okay, got it.
I'm sorry. It's a
It's okay.
reading test. You're right, but stop thinking. You're a CPS worker. Who else investigates?
CPS workers.
Okay, and I'm not going to do anything until I've done a full report. I'm not going to do anything with this kid until I get to do a full assessment on mom first.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you. So it's just a reading test. No, I know. I swear. Okay, I gotta go, guys. Thanks for hanging out with me.
One
Go ahead,
question.
Ashley. Go ahead. I don't mind.
Kylie, I know Kylie text something in the message about normative, and I believe from the pocket prep, there was a question about that, right, Kylie?
Yep.
Non-normative. Is it talking about
Non-normative.
events?
It was Katrina. Something with
Yes.
Katrina.
So normal
If I
events.
sent you the question, I took a picture of it and I text you the question.
To me or to her?
You.
Okay, so I can tell you, look at those. So normative events are things that are happening in life, normal things. I started my period. I went to college. Those are normal things. Non-normative things that we don't predict will happen. That's Schlossberg.
Because in the question it said, correct me if I'm on the right page, Kylie. In 2005, Hurricane Katrina directly affected thousands of lives in the New Orleans area. This is an example of which of the following types of influences.
Was historical an option? Historical, was that an option?
They had historical, but that wasn't the correct answer. The answer that Kylie put was the correct answer.
But I missed it.
I think historical should have been the answer.
It was either age-related historical, and I was like, I don't think it's historical, but I did choose what Kylie said, and that was the correct answer. I don't have the other option because I
So
don't have
historical events are things that will never happen again in our lifetime.
Okay.
So that's my first thought, but that's what that means. It'll never happen. Hopefully it won't happen again in our lifetime.
Okay.
Okay.
But it may be non-normative. It's the same thing, but historical events and that's an APGAR book question. Just go in APGAR and read what the answer is, what the rationale.
Okay. Thank you.
She's a lot smarter than I am. Not really, but go read. I'm not gonna lie, but anyway. But yeah. I think I know that answer because I think somewhere I read something about that was not historical because there's some rationale behind historical events and not historical events. So things that never happen again, that change the world, are historical events.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, but go back and read her book. It's in there, probably in the back too.
Okay, bye. Good night.
All right. Thank you so much.
Bye, dear.
Bye-bye.